Welcome everybody to Money Matures, the channel where we talk about all things money, the good, the bad, the ugly, our successes and our failures. The hope is that you'll take something from this, something that you're going through right now, something that you don't want to have to go through. Maybe you can learn a lesson from somebody else's mistake. So today I got my good friend Russell Harris on with me. Known him for many years. Russell, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a local realtor. Been out here since 2010, selling real estate. Happy to be on the show because I think this is awesome what Michael's doing. Because if we could help people maybe make some better decisions than we did, I'm all for it, man.
Awesome. So excited. So let's get into it, man. So we're going to talk about a few different things. We're going to talk about money habits. We're going to talk about debt, the thing nobody wants to talk about, right? And then we're going to talk about investing.
Okay.
You know, some things that people are scared of.
Yeah.
Maybe some people are investing right now. So let's dive right into it, man. So first, money habits. What's the most significant money lesson you've learned from your upbringing, your past experiences, and how has it shaped your financial decisions now?
Well, the biggest thing, man, I think is when I was younger, my grandparents always taught us to save money. My parents really didn't, but my grandparents really high into like saving money. My grandpa, I remember having an extra job just so he could save for retirement. Like he would clean offices on the side and do stuff like that. So I saw it, but I didn't understand it, and I didn't really get brought up into that in my own household. So that being said, I used to make money and spend money. I just blew through money. If you give me $1,000 by Friday, that $1,000 is gone.
Yep.
You know, so now I've learned you can't do that. And when I first got into real estate, I started out, I came in a good market where I made quite a bit of money. I made more money than I ever had in my life before. And you would think I would have saved, but I didn't. I just did the same thing. I blew right through it. So when the market crashed in '08, it caught me. And other people that I worked with that were more seasoned, it didn't catch them because they already knew to save.
Yep.
And they were just like, I was saying, how did you know? And they're like, I knew growing up that way. I've always been a saver. So I hope this show will help, we could get some people maybe to not do that.
No, I agree with you. I think a lot of us fall into that trap of like, when you make more money, you spend more money. I mean, this is what you do.
Yep.
You make more money, you can always make more money, right?
Yeah.
So I think we've all fallen for that trap. I get it. Well, right now, how do you prioritize your spending and your saving, and what drives those choices?
The biggest thing is with real estate, I'm not on a salary. I'm not on a fixed income. I'm on sales. So 1 month you could be high, next month you be low. So my take, what I always taught even myself is that I always have a certain amount of months ahead. So some people, if they know they're going to make, $10,000 a month, that's their salary, they live off that. Well, I don't do that. I have like $100,000 put away because I know that's 10 months of income. So I'm always thinking ahead.
Yeah.
And then what I do is I know what I'm going to make for the year. I take a certain percentage of that and put it into savings, and a certain percentage that I put into my 401k or things like that.
Nice. What's one money habit you'd like to develop or maybe even break? And what's your strategy to make that happen?
The biggest thing, man, is still save more. It's hard because I like shoes, I like different things, I like cars. Everyone knows that, and you get caught up.
Like cars,
yeah,
that's right. And shoes,
and you get caught up in that. But there's two different ways I look at that. My thing is like, hey, you're not gonna live forever, so you got to enjoy some things too. But also you got to be smart with this. So the balance is the problem. Me, it's balancing.
Yep.
You talk to my wife, she'll be like, you don't need that car. I'm like, yes, I do. so
I get it.
It's tough. I still deal with that because I like nice things. That's just the truth. But you got to have a balance.
I find for me, you got to have a little bit of an outlet, right? Because if you restrict yourself too much, like if you don't ever spend the money you work hard for, like then you might splurge too much. I feel like, So for me, if I get little outlets, I'm into the shoes like you are. I drive a 2016 Nissan Altima, so I paid off, but I'm not into the cars as much. I was. But yeah, you do have to have your little outlets, man. Yeah. But it's balancing it and saving it and making sure. I think the biggest problem people have is that they just spend all their money. You just got to find that balance. So I like it.
100%.
Can you share a money mistake that taught you a valuable lesson?
Yeah, is when you invest into something, I would feel you have to do a lot of research. And in the very beginning, I didn't do that. Okay. I would just see somebody. Like, for instance, I got into flipping houses. Right. the first house I ever did, it was good. Like I got into it, and it was a lot of equity in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought like, oh, look it, I did so well. And then the next house after that, I did it.
Okay.
I actually broke even. Like I made no money. I did everything for nothing, basically, in a way. 6-month project, sold it, got it done, and it was nothing to show for it.
And it could have been worse. You could have lost money.
Exactly.
I mean, okay.
And then I got in another one after that, did well. Then in the next one, COVID hit, and I learned from that is that I shouldn't have. We'll kind of get into that later, but there's certain things when you make a mistake, sometimes you can make things worse, or you could just try to like kind of have to slow down a little bit and just reevaluate everything.
Yeah.
And if I would have did that with that project, I would have did really well, but I did okay because I panicked.
So do you think, going back before the panic piece, that second one you were talking about, you talked about research. Did you maybe go into that a little too fast?
Oh, 100%. Because I just thought like the first one, oh wow, I did so well. The second one's going to be just like it. And I didn't realize that the area I bought in was by GCU, which is fine now, but back then it wasn't. People still don't want to live over there. And I didn't really think about that. I just, there's a college, I'll be able to sell this. And found out that that's not how it worked out. Yeah. Now, if I had that house, it'd do really well because everyone's trying to buy houses over there because it is changing over there. But I just didn't do enough research. And I was new to Arizona too. Yeah. So I didn't do enough research to realize like, don't do that. Because if I was like in Washington where I used to live, I'd have known not to buy there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the same with, me, I'm an investor. You got to do research there too, right? 100%. So the same rules apply. Like we can't just rush into stuff, right? You can invest, but you can mitigate your risk if you take a little bit more time and make sure you're looking at what's going on. So I like to see it. Well, let's get into the thing nobody likes to talk about.
Okay.
Debt, right? We've all been there. I asked you to come on and be as transparent as you want to be. But I do think that people can learn from others' mistakes. I know I've learned a lot from others' mistakes, so share as you will. But this is a subject that I'm very passionate about, getting out of it, and how once you're out of it, the feeling that it gives you and the empowerment that it gives you, I just want for everybody. So I'm really passionate about this section. So first question. What's the most challenging experience you've had with debt, and what did you learn from it?
I mean, I think that's most people's problem in this world, honestly, is debt. Mm-hmm. Because everywhere you go, if you think about it, they always ask you to open a credit card up. You can pay for this later. I mean, there's even a thing I bought online some other day. I forgot it was on Amazon or something, and it's like you could pay. It says want to pay later. And I'm like, man, this thing's $50. Ask me, do I want to pay later? I'm like, man, they just trying to set people up for debt. Yeah. And I found out that people do that. I found out from someone else that that I told them about. And they're like, oh, I do that all the time. I'm like, you do that? So with debt is I had debt. I got myself caught up in debt where I was just charging everything, of just buying stuff. So now my goal is, and it's been very hard, but I've learned, and once you learn to do something, it's like my credit card debt. If I put something on my credit card, it's paid off within 2 months. Yep. I always feel if I can't pay that off in 2 months, then I don't need to put it on the credit card. Yep. I only do it really for points now, to get like when we just went on a little trip, my room was free because I had points from Marriott and all that stuff. So I tell us, even with card debt, they might tell you 60 months or whatever. I ain't paying no car off in 60 months. Like that's too much. If I can't pay that car off in 2 or 3 years, I just don't buy it. Good point. Period. I just don't buy it. I just say, hey, I'll just keep what I have. So I do have nice cars, but I do pay them off quick because I just do certain things. I do some flips and do some things that pay off the cars. But I would tell people with debt, man, that could just that's the problem with this nation. I think people have so much debt that when things get rough, then they can't handle it because they have so much debt. Yeah, when you're in debt, you're one bad thing from happening, one lost job, one medical emergency. Yeah. I see it all the time. You're one big problem, unexpected problem from being just sunk. Yeah. You know what I mean? 100%. And I think it's huge. How do you think emotions like shame, fear, and denial play into people's or your specific? Did you have any issues with those type of emotions when it came to tackling your debt when you were in debt? Oh yeah, 100%. Because especially like me, when I had a regular job, if I got myself, and it's weird because I wasn't in debt when I had a regular job, when I was 9 to 5, because you learn to live in your means. You have no choice, right?
Yeah, because it's consistent.
Yeah. So I never really got into debt. I got in real estate to make money. That's when I got into debt. Yep. So the embarrassment is that once I got into that debt and I started having financial issues, it's embarrassing because everyone's like looking at you like, you're an idiot. You were making all this money, nice house, nice car. Now you up here, you ain't got no money. And I just saw, like, even coming here, I saw a thing about, an athlete was online and they're talking about him, that DeMonte West guy, whatever, used to play with LeBron.
Oh yeah.
So they just show, he's having some drug issues. So I'm not making fun of that because that's a whole nother story, but he's broke. There's a lot of athletes that are broke, right? Yeah, so it shows, and when you look at the story, you kind of say that, right? You're like, what an idiot. He had $100 million and I ain't got nothing. So that's why I start feeling ashamed too. Like, Russell Harris made $500,000 a year and he ain't got nothing. Like, what was he thinking? Like, why didn't he put a little money away? Why didn't he have to buy that car? So shameless, especially if, like, I had one time my dad was coming to visit, and I had like $80 in my account. Yeah. And I'm like, man, I feel so much shame. Like, they're gonna come down here. I don't have the money to take them out to eat. So it starts creeping, man. It starts playing on your mind.
Yeah, I think it happens to all of us. A lot of athletes, if you watch, a lot of athletes blow through their money fast, and we all do. It's not just athletes. I mean, we've all done it. I've done it myself, and I think that it's a big issue across the nation. Overspending is a big deal. And once we get control of that, I think you have a better chance of success in anything. Yeah. Right. But shame, I felt it when I was in it. Shame, I was embarrassed. Yeah. Like, and it wasn't. It was almost like I would talk about. It was almost like it's self-talk, Yeah. You kind of attack yourself.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You're just like, you freaking idiot. Like, how stupid do you have to be? Like, all the crap that you say to yourself, right? But I think it does come into play. And then once you face that and you get over that, that's when I was able to make a change. Like, all right, okay, all right, I messed up. Let's figure out how to fix this. Yeah. Right. 100%. So this is actually a great question right here. How do you think societal and cultural pressures influence our relationship with debt? And how do you think we could shift that mindset?
Well, I think that, especially when you, like, maybe you came like myself, I didn't come from money. Like, I lived in where I lived in Riverside, there's a nice part of Riverside and there's a not so nice part of Riverside. Well, I lived in not so, I mean, I would live like kind of rural, like country more. Gotcha. We didn't have sidewalks, with horses and all that stuff. So, I didn't come from money. So I didn't know how it felt to have money. I didn't know. Right. And, so the pressure of me growing up, I didn't have that much, because if you didn't have nothing, you were still kind of cool because the neighbor next door had nothing anyways. Yeah. But as I grew up, you start meeting different people. And I had a really good friend. I met a guy, and his parents were really well off. Mm-hmm. And he was African American. I just never seen that. But my grandparents had a little money, right? Yeah. So I saw that, but they got military. But this guy, they owned a recycling company. Yeah. And his parents, this dude was 17 years old driving a BMW with Dayton's on it. Nice. And I went to his house, and I'm like, oh my God, dude, like really, just like the Huxtables over there. Like, dude, how did this guy like get to this point, right? Yeah. And I would go and they'd have food that I never ate. Yeah. So I just learned, man. So I guess growing up, I didn't have a lot. So when I got a little bit, I wanted it all. Yeah. I wanted to be that dude. I wanted to go get that car, and I'm like, man, maybe I'll be like him now. I could set that up. So there's pressure. There's pressure because people. Look at now, name brands like a huge thing, man. People could make a short or a brand, aloe or any of this stuff. This stuff that's just really, if you look at it, you go to Target and probably buy the same type of short, but it doesn't have Lululemon on it. Yeah. That little symbol. Yeah. You have all that on. You go walk around the mall, people are like, oh, look at that. You have like $300 worth of Lululemon on it there. Yeah. You go to Target and you probably get the same quality, but it's not Lululemon.
And that's the societal thing. I think that's the kind of the keeping up with the Joneses, if you will, right? Yeah. Like, I think that's a lot of times why we buy the cars we buy, why we buy the clothes we buy. It's for us. We want to feel good. We work, I've fallen into the trap of like, I work hard for my money, right? Yeah. We can always say I work hard for my money, so I'm going to spend it, right? And I think also when you come up with nothing, or when you come up with by humble means, you kind of want all the things you never could have.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's what got me in trouble. It was, I came up humble myself, raised by a single mother, and she taught me work ethic, but she didn't know how to teach me money.
Yeah.
She didn't have any money to teach me money. Yeah. So then nobody teaches you when you start making it, like how to control the spending, man. But I think we get a lot of pressure. Culturally, society, we live in a society where it's just like, we want it now, everything now, everything's got to be borrowed to buy and stuff like that. So we've all fallen into it, my friend.
Oh yeah.
Well, what would you say to encourage someone out there right now who feels overwhelmed by debt?
The biggest thing is you got to tackle it. You got to, instead of like running from it, I know everybody wants to like keep borrowing more money to get out of debt. The worst thing you do, stop. You need to really sit down and figure out your bills. You need to figure out why you're there. How can you get out of it? There's a lot of ways. There's solutions. Trust me, there's solutions. You could call the credit card company or meet with somebody that could help you consolidate your bills. I mean, I know debt consolidation, it's real. And I've never done it myself, but I know people that have done it, and it's helped them. And what it does, I guess, it pushes stuff out further for them, and it kind of like shrinks their payments, but then it takes some interest off. They do different things. You can get out of debt. And I would tell people, like, don't run from it, because it's never going to go away. I mean, I've seen people I try to sell houses to, and they have stuff on their credit. It's been on it for 10 years. And I'm like, bro, why did it take 10 years? Now you want to buy a house. Now you're trying to tackle it. That's like the worst time to want to do that. Get it done before.
Well, a good friend of mine said, if you're in a hole, first things first, stop digging.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
stop digging.
Yeah.
But then you're right. You got to attack it however you need to. There's the snowball effect, or the approach. There's the avalanche approach. But you got to have a budget.
Yeah.
You got to figure. That's people. I don't think people track how much they spend.
No.
Really. I mean, I know I didn't.
Yeah.
I was just like,
now I do.
Coming. Hell, I'd have my commission check spent before I got the damn thing. You know what I mean? And so, I think that's the biggest thing. Stop digging yourself deeper.
Yeah.
And then you just got to face it. And there's going to be shame that comes with that. There's going to be denial. There's going to be frustration. There's going to be self-doubt and self-talk that's negative. But we do have to attack it, man. Yeah, and then 100%. When you get on the other side of it, it's a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right. So we're going to get into investing now, right? I love this. I don't care how people make money. I really don't. I just love to hear how people grow their money. Yeah. I'm just a big fan of it, whether it's investing, whether it's real estate, whatever it is. People buy and sell businesses, people buy and grow businesses, whatever your cup of tea is. I just I'm inspired by people growing stuff. Okay. So let's jump into this. What would you say is the biggest misconception beginners have for investing?
A lot of times they say, I don't have enough money.
Okay.
Right. Even with, say someone wants to buy an investment property, they want to buy their first home. There's ways to do it. Trust me, there's a lot more ways. Once you start asking the questions, there's answers. Even myself, when I wanted to flip my first house, I saw people doing it. I actually helped people do it. I would sell houses to people that I would see them remodel it, and I would turn around and sell it. And I'd be like, man, they need how much money in 4 or 5 months? And I kept saying, well, I don't have the money. And then I remember saying that one time to somebody, and the person's like, I don't have money. And I'm like, well, how do you do this? Like, there's a thing called hard money. I'm like, hard money, and so I found out about that, and so I said, oh, let me try that. So that's the first house I flipped. I used hard money. I used my own money. I used someone else's money. You pay a little for that, but it's a lot less risk when you're not using your own money.
So with hard money, and I know a little, I know like a minute amount of, that's really simply the thing is you're going to pay a higher interest rate for it, but the goal is you're going to pay that back fast, right? Am I understanding that right?
That's the whole thing. Gotta be in and
so
out.
You're not, the advantage is you're not risking your own money, right? But you're paying a little higher interest, but the goal is to pay it off fast so it doesn't hurt you as bad. Is that correct?
And you just got to make sure the deal has the room to do it. That's the deal. If the house has, $150,000 of equity in it, and you put $50,000 into it to fix it up, and you got $100,000 of equity, if you're paying a high interest, say, a lot of times they're charged 12, 14%. It's okay because you're only borrowing the money for like 3 or 4 months, and they'll make like, on that they'll make like $20,000, $30,000. So now you only made $70,000 on the deal. but still, you didn't use your own money and you made $70,000. It's a win-win.
Well, what's a truth that people should hear about investing?
The truth is it's stressful. I mean, anytime you take, I always tell people it's the saying, scared money don't make money, right? So it's hard. It's it's a stressful deal. It's not easy, but it's doable, and it's not as hard as people think it is. But it is. You're taking a chance. If everything's easy, I tell my sons this: if everything's so easy, everybody would do it. Something that's hard, or you're taking a risk and you do it, there's a lot big reward for it.
Yeah.
But if it was so easy, everyone would just do it. That's why a lot of people don't do it, because they're scared. They're scared of failure. You're going to fail. I mean, I've failed at things I've done, but I've had more success than failure.
Yeah. I think the greatest people, I think anybody who's had a lot of success will tell you they've probably had quite a few failures, right?
Oh,
that's kind of the name of the game, and in investing, there's risk, there's reward. I just think not investing, in my opinion, is just a non-starter. You got to do something. Whatever you find that's comfortable for you, you just have to, because first you got to stop spending money. Then you got to start saving money. But saving money by itself is not going to outrun inflation. No. So you've got to find something.
You got to do something.
And that's what I hope this channel will kind of promote, is whatever that is, you understand the real estate game.
Yeah.
And so that's your arena.
Yeah.
And I love it, right? I don't know that arena. That's not my arena. My arena is more the stocks and index funds and stuff. But whatever the person's arena is and wherever you're comfortable with, that's the most important thing, is you need to find something to grow your money, because just saving it's not going to be enough to outrun inflation.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how do you recommend someone get started if they feel overwhelmed by options and they don't have a lot of money?
I would, there's nothing wrong. It depends what you do. If you're going to get into 401k, stocks, that kind of thing, start with something small. Just put a little something into it. Just see, even if you put $100 and then in a year or two, you say, $100 turned into $500. It's something, that may get you going. If it's in real estate or anything, if you want to buy into a business or something, partner up with somebody. And I tell people all the time, I had guys on my team that they wanted to start investing with flips. We partnered on stuff. And once we got going and we did a couple, now sometimes they do them on their own, and that's okay, because they learn. But, partner with someone, or like I said, if it's into investments or 401k or something, just put something in there and see it yourself. Putting zero.
Yeah.
Put something.
Yeah. I mean, and so for me, and you bring up a good point, partnering and stuff, right? Yeah. Partnering, as long as you partner with somebody you trust and that you care about, and that you make sure it's somebody that's trustworthy, right? And that you do trust. And even then, trust but verify.
Yeah.
Because even people you trust can burn you, right? Mm-hmm. But I do think there's power in partnership where you share the risk and you share the reward.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's probably really big in real estate. The reward could be very substantial. The risk could also be substantial, but if you're splitting it down the middle,
it takes
at least it takes a little pressure off of your shoulders.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. How do you personally balance risk and reward when making investment decisions?
Say that again.
How do you personally balance risk and reward when making investment decisions?
Well, the biggest thing I look at the reward, because I want to make sure that there's enough there, because if it's not, especially when it comes to real estate, it's there. Even my wife,
is it worth the time? Essentially, is it worth the risk?
Gotcha. Because if it's not, I get people calling all the time. I got this house, I got that house, and I already plugged it in and could tell, nah, man, no, I'm good. I'm well, you didn't. I don't need to hear you out. What you just told me, the area or what kind of house. There's a lot of stuff that I don't invest in. And there's some things I don't. I blindly invest. I blindly invest in my 401k.
Yeah.
I have no clue. When I put the money in my 401k or I give it to my guy, I put it in my stuff. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen with them. I really don't understand the stock market. Yeah. But I just know that I do look at it, and I know when it's green. I know my money goes up, and when it's red, I see my balance go down. And that's all I know.
Realer words have never been spoken.
Yeah, and I'm the guy that does my stuff, my 401k. He's good at what he does, and he'll call me once in a while and say, "Hey, you saw I moved some stuff around. That's the reason I did it."
Yeah.
I said, "Okay, well, that's what I guess I'm paying you for." So that blindly. My wife just recently started buying in stocks, giving her money, and she's doing some things, and she does a lot of research, but I don't know if that's all working. So far it is, I guess, but it's I look at it this way, leaving my money in my savings account, I'm making, if I have $100,000 and they give me a good $10 a month or something, maybe even less, it ain't doing nothing in there. So
that's 100. It just won't outrun inflation. No. So you just got to have some, and that's what I always tell people. You got to deal with the ebbs and flows. There's, to your point, there's days that are green and days that are red. Sometimes it's a week of red, right? And sometimes it's 3 weeks of green, right? Yeah. But yeah, it's just something that people've got to get. I encourage anybody listening, man, to do your research, find any way you can to one, save your money, and then two, find places to put it that'll help it grow. And, don't look for those get rich quick schemes. Don't look, the real true wealth doesn't happen overnight. It happens over years.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
To your point, earlier when you were saying invest or save your money earlier, to anybody out there that's in their 20s and 30s, man, you're in a prime spot to really start letting that compound growth happen for a long period of time. Where if you start later in your late 30s, 40s, 50s, now you're playing a lot of catch up. So that's super important, man. So what is your favorite? I kind of think I know the answer to this just based off how this is going, but I just want to ask point blank. What is your favorite investment vehicle?
For me, it's because of what I do is real estate. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's been proven for years. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people out there that are really well off because they hit real estate right. I mean, I met a lady when I got out here in 2010. I had a lady call me from Zillow, and older lady, and she called me up and she was like, "I want to buy some investment properties in Arizona. I've been kind of never been there, but I've been kind of reading online." And she said, "I got a question for you." I'm like, "Okay, what's your question?" So I see a house here in Surprise for $75,000. Is this real? I said, "Yeah, it's real." She said, "It's a stick-built house. Like, this is not a manufactured home. This isn't a house on wheels." I'm like, "No, it's a stick-built house on foundation." Yeah. And she was just blown by that because she's from San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
So she was like, "I can't buy a parking spot."
Yeah, I was going to say, we can get that.
So she said, "You know what? I'm going to roll the dice." She said, "I'll buy it." So she's never seen the house. She's like, "I trust you. I read your reviews. You seem trustworthy." So she bought the house. That's saying something. She flew out here. And her eyes were she was just amazed. She couldn't believe it. She thought she hit the lottery. She's like, "I want to buy 5 more." So I was like, "Okay, nice." So she bought 5 more for me. And then we went out to have some, I think we had lunch or something. I kind of just picked her brain real quick. I said, "Where'd you get your money?" And she said, "Real estate." She said, "I was 15 years ago, I was living there." And she said, "I couldn't afford nothing in San Francisco. So I went to Oakland." Oakland is a bad area. And there's an apartment complex and some guy was filing bankruptcy, whatever. So she went there and she bought it for $500,000. And she said, "Everyone told me I'm crazy." She said, "I spent everything in my retirement fund, every penny I had, I bought it." And everyone thought, "You are out of your mind. Like, what, your little, I think she was like probably at that time in her 50s, little lady, not married. She was a school teacher. She was a professor at the college at Berkeley. Yeah. And she said, everyone told her, "You are out of your mind." She bought it. She said, "I went around, I found the toughest guy in that neighborhood and told him, 'You're going to be collecting my rent for me, and I'm going to give you a percentage.'" Because she knew she couldn't collect rent because everyone probably just tell her, like, "Get out, I ain't paying your rent. You ain't, what are you going to do?" Yeah. So she did that. 10 years later, that thing went from $500,000 to $2.5 million. She sold it. And she said, "I have all this money. I need to invest it into something." So she invested into Arizona and she bought a condo in, I think it was like Maui or one of the Hawaiian islands. And she was like, she wanted to do that. But when she told me that, I said, "What do you mean it come from money?" She said, I was a professor. Like, I make money, but I'm not rich. Yeah. And when I saw that, I was like, this lady took a chance. Mm-hmm. She took a chance on that. And that just made my whole mindset change when I met her. 100% mindset change. Because
it's inspiring.
Yeah, because I saw like, man, real estate really, even though I've been selling it, this was a true fact. This thing could really work if you hit it right. And there's people, I hear those stories like, they just hit the market a certain way. They buy a couple things and it just goes up. I mean, we just had our dinner for Retsy and our broker mentioned that, he's like, our first office we ever bought, they paid like $240,000 for it. And it was over there in Central Phoenix, but it was a little ran down place. Yeah. He's from the day they got it appraised for like 2.2 million. And it's like, he's done nothing to it. Just been sitting there, just rented out. And I'm just like, so those are things you hear. Mm-hmm. So I know it's true, right? But same with, with investment stuff. I heard people, they bought Apple when it was, first came out or anything like that. Now look at them, dude. They're,
and what's crazy about that is hindsight's 2020, right? Mm-hmm. But good, of course you bought that, right?
Yeah.
But in the beginning, a lot of these companies, it was risky.
Yeah.
Right? They're trying new stuff, and that investment in stocks and individual stocks is I enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. I like to feel part of the game. I feel like I'm in the game with these companies. And some people prefer index funds, because they're a little more. You're buying all 500 companies versus just one, right? And I like index funds too. Don't get me wrong, but I think that ultimately investing in anything, she took a big risk.
100%.
Somebody when Apple was just starting was taking a pretty big risk. So it depends on how much they put in.
Yeah.
So they put $500 in, but everything's relative, right? So $500, if I only have $500, is a lot. Mm-hmm. That's the same as, somebody else putting 200,000 into it. Like it's relative to what they have. So, I just love it. I get inspired by stories like that because it's just like, it's so cool to see, where people are and how they got there, and especially growth stories where people, bring themselves up, teach themselves self-education, trial and error.
Well, I met my neighbor. You learn from people. I like to ask people questions. I know you do the same thing.
Yep.
I had a neighbor, we had a conversation about money, and he's getting up there in age and he needs to sell his house now, and he's going to move back to Oregon. And he told me, he's like, I made one big mistake in my life, Russell. And I was like, what was that? He's like, when Apple came out, he had a boss, his boss at the time, that the company, he gave him shares of Apple, gave it to him. He didn't buy them, gave it to him and said, hey, don't ever sell this. And he's like, okay, whatever. And then 10 years later, like doubled or whatever, right? And he thought like, oh my God, he sold it. And he says he gets sick to his stomach. If he would have just kept it, because he never bought it. Remember, this wasn't his money, someone else's money. And the guy bought like $50,000 of shares. It wasn't like a little small amount. Yeah. That was kind of like his love, like, hey man, you've been a good employee. I'm going to make sure, he knew he was going to pass well.
He set him up for success.
But if you would have this to this day, it's stupid. It's millions of dollars. Yeah. Like, man, he would literally not have to sell his house right now.
Yeah.
Because he's going through medical issues. He has to sell his house to start looking at medical things. And he's like, Russell, certain things in life, when people tell you, you need to probably, like, when he told him, don't ever sell this, it was like, don't sell it. Because, at the time he was like in his 40s. Like, don't sell anytime soon. He's 70 now. If you just waited another 20 years.
And the advantage to that is, it was money you didn't even have to put in. So you're playing with house money as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Maybe you ask a few more questions. Why not sell it? But what we should do, and this is for everybody out there, let's normalize buying stock for friends, okay? Let's make that a thing. Like, no more presents. Let's buy stocks for presents, okay? Because that's a huge thing. How cool, I'm inspired by that because that guy gave that guy a blessing. Dude. Now, he made his own decision.
Yeah.
But looking back, he's like, man, that guy tried to change my life.
Yeah.
And I didn't let him. Now, he doubled his money. There's nothing wrong with doubling your money.
Yeah.
Right? So, but that's what, when you invest, this is one thing I always go, once I sell something, I try not to ever look at it again because you don't know what's going to happen.
Apple's a hard one never to look at again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's on it's on my damn phone.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's one thing you would want to teach your kids about investing that you wish somebody taught you at their age? You got a
18-year-old.
Well, no,
18.
he just turned 18, right?
18 and 21-year-old.
21, right? What would you like them to know about investing that you wish somebody would have told you?
Start young. So I told both. I mean, Luke's 21 and we've had this conversation, and he's going to get to that point where he'll start. But I told him, like, even if you put, I tell him every check $100 away. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot. At his age, he's doing pretty well. And I told him, you do that and you get used to doing that. By the time you're 50, you'll be in a different situation I am. 100%. So going to teach him that since I didn't get taught that, I'm going to teach him how to really save. My young Jalen, I ain't going to have to worry too much about him saving because that dude's tight with his money. He has to spend my money. He'll be like,
and he don't want to be nobody's employee. No, he want to be his own boss.
He told me that I got to get a haircut. I'm like, okay. Like looking for me, I'm like, man, I know how much money you got in your cut. You can afford your own haircut.
I love it. Nah, Jalen's good. I need to have him on the show for entrepreneur. I want to have an entrepreneur show. I want to have him on, man. But yeah, I think it's important, man. I didn't come up in a household where we talked about money, and I think it's important for us to teach our kids. And that $100, here's what I've learned. It's not how you start. It's just starting, right? Because even if it's $50, $25, I don't care what it is, right? What I've learned is as you do it over time and you start seeing the success of it, especially when you start young, then I feel like that encourages you. Oh, you know what? Maybe I can find another $50. Mm-hmm. I can cut back a couple of little luxuries I do, and I could do another $50 because look what it's doing for me. And then as you get older, you start making more money. Yeah. And if you have that mindset,
you're just gonna keep doing it.
We talked earlier about how when you make more money, you spend it, right?
Yeah.
That's what got me in the most trouble, man. Every time I got a raise, I bought more stuff. Yeah. Every time I got a raise, I bought a new car. Every time I got a raise, you spend the money, right? Well, if you got that habit early, if I had that habit early, every time I got my raise, I would think to myself, okay, half of this is going to this, or maybe more than half of it, whatever. But if you've already got that habit, even if you start small, I think it'll balloon over time.
100%.
And compounding over time, years over years, is how we really turn this into a huge success. Yeah. So I love it. I love it. So last question, man. I'm all about continued education. I read a lot. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I'm a self-starter. I'm a self-educator. People have always told me invest. I've always heard everybody says buzzwords. Oh, invest your money. But nobody tells you how. Nobody tells you where. Nobody tells you what to do. So finally, I took my own action and I started educating myself. I mean, we're in a day and age where, you got everything you need on your damn phone, man. Yeah. You could Google anything you need. Yeah. And you could find all the information. You can YouTube if you want to learn about trading or investing. You can read books on it. You can peer mentor, find somebody to mentor with. So I'm all about education. So I say all that to say this. Do you have a resource or maybe a book or maybe a video that you recommend to our viewers and myself included for self-education or for continued education?
Yeah, there's people I follow on Instagram. Mm-hmm. I don't have I just know by face because they was on my page, but I follow them and I mostly get most of my real estate from one guy. He's out in San Diego. Mm-hmm. And he's really good. Some of the stuff, he is trying to get view clicks. So some of the stuff I kind of take a grain of salt. Some of the stuff he says on them, I was like, I'm not saying to get someone in trouble, but he's probably putting someone in a pressure cooker. Some of this he does, but a lot of the stuff he is right because he's really good at what I learned from him. He teaches people mostly like that he tells people he's into flipping, but there's houses he calls hold. And that's where I need to get to now is I'm so quick into making the quick money because at my age, I'm trying to do that because I'm trying to build up something. Okay. He likes to hold houses. So he owns, like he showed on there, he bought a place. And especially here, people have to realize right now is Arizona passed a law. And I know a lot of people don't know, but you could put a casita in the backyard now, like in Phoenix, right? So if you have the way the Phoenix houses are, if you notice, they're always a house and then they kind of have like an extra lot in the backyard. Mm-hmm. And people sometimes just leave that blank or they just fill it with a bunch of junk. Well, they're allowing people now to put casitas, and the casita could be like, if your fence is here, your casita could be right here. Okay. So people are putting those in, right? And those run you could get one put in for about $80,000. You could rent those out for $1,600 a month. So the payment on that $80,000 loan is probably like $800 a month. Yeah. If you double your money on something, and when you put a casita on a house, it brings your value almost $200,000.
Oh yeah, because you're adding essentially that's additional square footage, right? Because it's livable, right? So are there rules like does it have to have like I'm assuming there's rules like it has to have like AC and water and plumbing, and it has to have all the things for it to be considered as actual square footage. Right. Well, obviously, if you're going to rent it out, it has to have that anyway. So, but it could be a studio, right?
Yeah, no, that's most of the yard. They're like usually
have
like
to
600
2
square
bedrooms.
feet. They're not big. Usually 1 bedrooms, and just like you get people there just young and just like don't want to buy a house, whatever it is. It started always, everything seems to start in California, but that's where it started. And then it came out here because we're having a housing issue where people, like, especially going to be in Phoenix, there's really not a lot of room to build over there anymore. Yeah. So that's what people are doing. And, he's the first person I saw talk about that. Yeah. Today he had a video on there, and it's kind of a couple other people piggybacked off him, but there's places like in, say, like San Diego, New York, places that really have nowhere else to build. People have, like, say you have your condo, townhome, and then under you have like a carport. Yeah. People are turning the carports into living spaces now. That's the next trend. So now we know I don't know they're gonna park the car, but they literally show people a place in San Diego, they get like $2,200, and they already own that thing. It's been a carport their whole time. So you're
literally just turning an asset you already have into a money generator.
And that's what people are looking for now, because everyone, like you say, with the cost of living's going up, people are trying to figure out ways, how can I compensate? And that's one way to do it.
You had mentioned Phoenix specifically. Is that a Phoenix specific thing, or is it a surrounding areas?
The problem is with this over here, you have HOA. Yeah. And HOAs are going to be like, So it has to be a non-HOA area. So I should disclose that. It has to be a non-HOA.
I just want to clarify that.
Yeah,
I figured that's the case.
Yeah, because HOA, if you're
so it's not Phoenix specific, but you got to be mindful of if you have
I just sold a house to a guy recently, and that's all he was about. And that's weird. It has a bigger lot, and he's already doing it. And he's like, basically the income he's going to get from that is going to pay half his house payment. That's awesome. So basically, I mean, it's as good as it gets, and it brought value to his property.
I love it.
So,
well, listen, man, this has been great, man. You know, I really, again, I want to say thank you. I know you're a busy person. You're a good friend of mine. I love you to death, and I appreciate you taking this time to bless me, and hopefully somebody watching this can learn from something that you've brought to the table, or maybe I brought to the table. I know I just learned something, which I'm excited about. So just want to let everybody out there know, you know, thank you for joining us. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, ask questions. We'd love to answer them. And remember, money matures, but it never matures in a straight line, or it never grows in a straight line. So best of luck out there. Thank you for joining us.